Are you still awake? These are the stories that keep us from a peaceful slumber. Curl up and pull the covers a little tighter. Because in this episode, I have a real life ghost story for you. How do I know it's real? Because it happened to me. Picture it. Okay, so let me get out of creepy voice and get into storytelling gay voice. So, first of all, picture it. I'm 12 years old, sleeping on the top bunk in the bedroom that I shared with my younger brother. Now, my younger brother's like 7 years younger than me, and I know we didn't get bunk beds until he was like 5, and therefore I had to be at least 12 or 13. And that seems to be a very prime age for people to have some of these first experiences. And this was one of my first experiences. I think maybe my first experience with any kind of supernatural, spiritual, or just unexplained, unknowing, or questioning what was real, what was my imagination, what was beyond what we know. Okay, so anyway, back to top bunk in the bedroom. I clearly remember being awake, being sat up in bed, and hearing my grandmother's voice. She was calling my name. So let me tell you a little bit about my grandmother. During the day, she was my primary caretaker while my parents were at work, and she was someone who had a lot of attitude. She was very spicy. She definitely she had a lot of pep to her. I remember that about her, and I remember her voice. So I actually had thought growing up as a kid that she worked at the hospital because I was going to so many doctor's appointments with her in my little kid brain. I was just like, oh, I'm going to work with grandma, and oh, I guess we're done with work. Like that, you don't really know time when you're a child, right? So, oh, whatever, she went to work. Well, actually, no, she was going to her. Actually, that's not funny. She was going to She was going to her doctor's appointments. She had a fairly rare disease called scleroderma, which is the hardening of the soft tissues. By the way, trigger alert. Sorry, this episode's going a little deep. Um, Look, you're listening to a horror podcast, and I just told you this happened to me. You've been warned. Anyway, she died when I was 6. When I heard her calling my name, I was 12. It was her voice, and she was calling my name. And I remember the main confusion. It wasn't like spooky, and it didn't make me, I wasn't like, ooh, or like whatever. Um, I just was confused because it sounded like she was in the other room. And in our upstairs of this particular house, when I was like my childhood home, well, the bedrooms were upstairs, and then like we had our like playroom upstairs. And it sounded to me like she was in the other room in the playroom, which didn't make sense because she like why would she be looking for me in there, right? I'm in the bedroom. So that was like, what? And it didn't dawn on me until actually much later, not as a kid. As a kid, I obviously, like, I got up, I went to that room. She wasn't there. Clearly, that'd be a real surprise. So it wasn't until later that I realized, oh my God, she wasn't in another room. She was in another realm. And yes, is this easy to dismiss as a dream? Is this easy to dismiss as a memory that I got conflated and mixed up as a kid or what have you? Sure, I literally just told you I was sitting up in bed. So I've always thought back on this like, did I? Hmm. Like, did this happen? Did I? All I know is, and I remember some bits and pieces from my childhood. I don't have a great chronological memory, like I can't whatever, but there's things that I remember very clearly. The stuff I do remember, the stuff that stuck with me. I remember that shit. I remember every detail. I remember the colors of things. I remember patterns of things, what people were wearing, the wallpaper. The carpet. I fucking remember it all. So, and people try to gaslight me when I go into these memories, and then as it turns out, I've been proven right every time. So, all I can tell you about this particular memory is that it felt real, it sounded real, I was fully awake, and I know I walked into the other room. Could I tell you exactly what happened in the moments following? No. I don't know. Probably went back to bed, probably got dressed. I don't know. But to me, it felt real. And it didn't creep me out. Like I said, it didn't like make me feel weird or you're being watched. They're all around you. Um, I guess the reason that it really has stuck with me so much, and I remember it so clearly and so vividly today, and this is stuff I've worked out later on in life because, like, I was so young when my grandmother died that my parents didn't think it would be appropriate to take me to the funeral. So, which I think is totally like valid. Like I said, she was my caretaker. Like that was my second mom. That's where I spent Monday through Friday, all day with her at work at the hospital. So I totally get that. That probably would have weirded me out. I for sure don't want one of the things that I remember so clearly and so vividly to be that. So they were right for that. But it also took me a while to actually understand what had happened. Not that she had passed away or not that she was gone or wasn't here anymore. I understood that. But the emotional impact that it had on me. The fact that I lost someone close to me at such a young age, someone who was a maternal figure, and someone whose voice I still remember. And even if nothing else, that day reminded me of her. And because I can remember everything from that day so clearly, I still remember her voice. So I don't know what that is, y'all. Is that a ghost? Is that a message from beyond? Is that a memory? Is it a dream? I like to think of it as a reminder. And something else about my grandmother. She kind of knew stuff that she couldn't really know. I'll give you an example. So I didn't realize, by the way, so if you're on the audio version of this podcast, this is a video, and there are two things that are happening. There's a ghost biting my ear and taking my ear off. Or am I just turning and my vision is so bad I think it's blurring out? And I'm drinking out of a cup, which I didn't think would be an issue, but it keeps blurring into the background. My bad. So just to describe to you what you're missing if you're not watching the video. Okay, so here's how my grandma knew stuff. When she was very sick and she was in the hospital for the last time, she decided, by the way, that she was kind of at a point where she was like, look, is it going to get better? The answer was no. Is this going to prolong my agony? She opted out. So at her last time in the hospital, I have several aunts, so this isn't really, I mean, not that, I don't know, they'd probably tell the story if they came on the podcast. So I have one of my aunts, she was fighting with her husband, who, by the way, not to be a gossip or anything, but she had divorced and remarried. So, but I will say the remarriage um was totally worth it because that's how my cousin came about, and we love her. So it was all worth it. But anyway, they were fighting, and as one does when you're fighting with your second slash first husband, she took off her wedding ring dramatically and threw it across the room, and then couldn't find the wedding ring. I mean, imagine how that worked out. So yeah, and that's valuable, girl. If you're if you're filing for divorce the second time, you need that ring, okay? So anyway, so she was like, "Fuck, I can't find this ring." Mind you, my grandmother has been in the hospital for weeks at this time. She's not totally coherent in everything that's happening. In fact, she's slipping through timelines where when certain people are there, or like especially like people who are the like when her daughters were there together, a couple of them were together, she would slip back into the timeline and have a memory of them, like when they were kids, and be talking as though that was present time, right? So so she's slipping between timelines. Obviously, I'm sure a lot of uh, pain medication was involved here, all the stuff, right? My aunt goes to the hospital to visit her. I'm going to make this more dramatic. I don't know if she actually did this, but I'm guessing she must have noticed the missing wedding ring. Either that or just out of nowhere. She said, "Have you tried looking under the bed for your wedding ring?" Guess where that wedding ring was, y'all? Guess where it was. They had told her nothing. They had told her, and even if they had, I don't know what timeline she was in. So all I'm saying is my grandmother was a very special person to me. I remember her very fondly, and this is one memory of her that I will never forget. There's just something more. Whether you feel that spiritually, whether you feel that religiously, whether you just feel that in the sense of the ever expanding universe, there's something more. I did a podcast before, well over 400 episodes. I had an amazing co-host. We met every single week and just talked shit about like celebrities and events and stuff like that. And it was really fun. And it was like a weekly event. So branching off now and doing my own show on my own is daunting in a way, but in a way, there's it's sort of like the ghost of my old podcast, right? But this is a topic that I really want to explore. And also, I'm not alone because there will be bonus episodes where I'm joined by a very special guest host for all three of those episodes, who's an amazing writer, director, uh, horror, murder mystery, like his production company is called Murder and Gay Stuff. So that's a little tease for what's to come. I do like to lean in the creepy stuff and like use my creepy voice and all that stuff. But I think that's just being fun, right? Like if we were having a sleepover, like I would totally be slipping between like me, the animated me, and like the storytelling, creepy me. I just headbutted the camera right there. Again, if you're only listening to the audio, you are missing so much. You just missed the top of my head. All right, y'all. So on this new adventure, I am very excited about it. There are a lot of cool topics coming up. I am so interested in where folklore and urban legend actually intersects with history, like real life stuff. And I love historical hauntings, but I also love any kind of, horror movies and all the stuff. So that's what I want to explore with the podcast. I hope you're here with me on this journey. If not, fuck off. You probably didn't even watch this far. So whatever. I don't care. I don't care. All right. I've been saving this story up. It's the first episode I'm going to release, but it's the last episode that I'm recording because I needed to think about it and to get it right. So I hope I did that, and I hope I've pretty much explained like what this is all about, you know? So until next time, one question. Are you sure your doors are locked? Goodbye.